So this is the flower that we're going to be making. And here's the equipment you're going to need to make it. I've got some beads, depending on your colour scheme. That's some pearls, just some small ones. I've got some sugar wire, but also some normal silver finished wire. But the main wire that we're going to be using is the aluminium wire. Get a large bundle of it. First thing to do is straighten some of it out so that it's easier to use. At the top you're going to need a little bit of extra. Then you want to start making the first shape. It's going to look a bit like a heart shape. First of all, try and keep it in position. I'm going to twist around the bottom and make it nice and tight, and it won't have much movement in it. And then I'm going to make the next one, and I'm going to match it almost like a mirror around the shape, like so. Doesn't really matter if it doesn't have that much form to it at the moment, as long as it's about the same size. I'm going to twist it round the bottom so that the two are attached to each other. You can use the loose extra long bit to the side if you need to, but I don't need to at the moment with this one. And then I'm going to start making the next petal. And again, I'm going to try and make it so it's the same sort of size. Starts getting a bit fiddly at this point. I'm going to twist it round the bottom once I feel like I've got them near enough the same size. And twist it round. And it's time for the last petal. I'm going to go with 4 petals on this. Obviously you can go with more or less. I found for this sort of size petal the 4 fit quite well, and twist it round. I'm going to use that long bit to stretch around to try and keep everything tight so it doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart. Now you can twist it around a couple more times if you want. I'm going to open these up and twist them round so that they are next to each other. So I've got my 4 petals spread out. Just trying to make sure that they're evenly spread around. You could leave it like this, that's quite nice. But I want to make it look a little bit more natural. You could leave it like that. And I'm going to add some shape to it once I've cut it off from the main loop. So I'm going to use my tool to make each of them a little bit more like petals by adding some dimples, some shape. I want to make it narrow at the bottom, almost pinch it, make it look pinched at the bottom. And this one seems to be moving too much, so what I'm going to do is tighten it up by just twisting it around and then opening it back up again. And that way it's a bit more secure. You don't have to do this bit, but I think it makes it look cool. And stretching it out, trying my best to make it look like a petal. And then I'm going to do the same for each of the other sides. Sometimes it involves stretching it out a bit. Really, it's up to you how much you do. I'm just making it seem a bit more three-dimensional by giving each petal a bit of a curve so they're not just straight up. They almost scoop in and out. Again, this one needs twisting, but to bring the bottoms in so they're a bit more closer together. Just twist it round. Don't always have to do that. Just depends on how you made the petal to start with. You can see I've sort of made the basic shape there. I can come back to it and tweak it a bit more later on if I need to. Okay, so it's getting there. Now I'm going to use this single wire. This is the one that's normally used by florists. I'm going to push it up through the middle, one end. I'm going to make it slightly longer than the top of the petals. I'm going to pinch it and then twist it round the base of the stem. So this is just to give it a little bit more security, and then once I've wrapped it around a few times, I'm going to push it up again, up through the middle. So I've got two bits of wire sticking out. I've got to be really careful not to bend it as I pull it through, because it might make it difficult for the beads to go on. So these are going to be used to add decoration. I'm going to twist it and then push it down a little bit so the beads don't just roll off down out of the flower. Make sure it's as low down as I can make it. I'm going to be using purple beads. Now these beads are fairly cheap, which means they're quite difficult to put on because the holes aren't very big. So you'll have to be patient with me pushing these on. I'm going to put 2 beads on each one, although it's entirely up to you. So with this florist wire, it's slightly wider than it needs to be. So you do normally have to really push the beads on. But they don't normally slide up and down very easily. They'll try and fall off once they're on. That's 2 in 1. going to put 2 on the other one. I push them down and then realised I put 3 instead of the other one on the other one. Okay, I'm now going to use some of these little beads. They're in fact pearlescent. And they're going to be sitting at the top of the wire, but I'm going to make a little zigzag in the wire using my fingers so that when I put the bead on it doesn't drop all the way down to the bottom. So I'm going to bend it into a zigzag shape and then put the pearl on. You'll see it won't just drop down. Obviously I don't want it to fall off the top. I'm going to curl the piece of wire round. It doesn't really matter how you do it, you can curl it round or curl the pearl round. So that one's fixed in position at the top. Do a little bit of extra wire so you can just cut it off. Make sure it's nice and tidy. And make a zigzag for the next one. And pop it on and then wrap the wire around. Try not to have any bits of wire sticking out. And it's a bit too fine, so I'm just going to use the tool to curl it a bit. Okay, so that bit there is still feeling a little bit insecure, so I'm going to be using my silver covered wire to wrap round there. Plus it looks really nice because it's a bit more shiny. Don't need too much of it. So you just start it off anywhere, pinch it to start with and then wrap it round. I'm just wrapping it around that top bit, but I'm doing it quite tightly so there's not any movement in that flower. Curl it round. And now it's just a case of finishing it off really. If any of those petals aren't looking exactly as you want, or those little bits of wire aren't quite straight, then it's just a case of moving them around, but it's almost done. You can open the flower up, and what's really great, as you'll see in a minute, you can either have the flower pointing up or you can curve the stem so that it's pointing in a particular direction. It's entirely up to you.